Good morning. Welcome to NewsWare's Trade Talk for Thursday, March 26. Okay, let's get into the action. Take a look at the S&Ps. We're currently lower, 0.77%. We're going to have a weak opening. There's a lot of negativity in the air. A lot of it is due to the lack or no progress in the U.S.-Iranian peace talks. I mean, they both put together plans that are that are just never going to fly with the other. And this is what they want to work off of. Now, there are supposedly mediation talks that are scheduled for this weekend. We'll see if that actually happens. Originally, I'd heard they were going to start today, but they apparently have been pushed back to this weekend. So we'll see if this is going to continue. But Trump is out there warning Iran and their negotiators that they better get serious. The lack of forward momentum in these talks is really creating an issue. Because now you got a potential situation where it can escalate. The hostilities could escalate, which really would put this market in greater risk of moving lower. Trump stated that they need to be more serious about their ongoing negotiations before it's too late. Kind of shows that he's getting frustrated with the diplomatic efforts. So, that's really the key theme of the market today. And, overnight, missiles continued to fly between Iran and Israel and Iran. Israel said that they, took out one of Iran's leaders. More on that, will probably be developed later today. On the economic front, hey, we get the initial jobless claims. That's going to be the key report for today. That's due out before the opening. In corporate news, Meta and Google, their shares are under pressure after losing that landmark social media addiction trial. The issue is they're going to open up more trials. They've already lost one, and everybody can point to it. So this has really kind of created a new wave of litigation concerns for these two companies. IBM announced a breakthrough in quantum computing, saying its systems can stimulate real magnetic materials, which results in matching neurons in scattered experiments. It sounds positive. Boeing, Korean Air's out there saying they're purchasing plans for 103 Boeing aircraft. McDonald's, this is kind of interesting because McDonald's is rolling out theme-based meals based on Netflix K-pop Demon Hunter movie, which is a Netflix movie that's widely popular. On the earnings front, Shoe Carnival's trading a little higher, while Jeffries, Miller Knoll, and Fuller Brush, they're all moving lower after their earnings releases. Looking ahead, you got Carnival Cruise scheduled to report tomorrow morning. So we got a lot going on, not heavy, but we still have, earnings news hitting the tape. Okay, let's take a look at the European markets. We're starting off with the DAX, which is down 1.65%. Or 379 points. You got weakness in tech, industrials, financial stocks are all showing weakness. In London, that market is down 1.42%. Wow, 143 points. Weakness in mining and property stocks. France, the CAC in Paris, down 87 points. That's 1.12%. As defense and financial shares come under pressure. In addition, the ECB is, signaling that they may possibly raise rates in April. That's another layer of caution for the European markets. So, the concern is valid. We're seeing, those indexes downtick pretty hard. Okay, now we're turning the page. We're looking at the Asian markets. We're starting off with the Nikkei, which fell 145 points. That's 0.27%, weighed down by stocks in the financial sector. Hong Kong really did take a hit. I mean, that was a bigger hit. They fell 1.89% or 479 points with weakness in tech leading that decline. Shanghai Composite in China fell 1.09%. Insurance, mining shares, tech, they really pressured the market lower. And then we're looking at oil this morning. Oil is showing some big gains. I mean, we got both contracts up over 4.5%. You got WTI at $94.52. You got Brent at 107.43. Big turnaround from yesterday. And this advance comes as escalating tensions in the Middle East continue to drive risk premiums into the market. The ongoing uncertainty over the peace negotiations, and potentially, a continued buildup of military assets in the Gulf is really raising concerns that, supply disruptions are only getting started and there could be more. And the markets, really is kind of underpricing how much damage is being done because it's not just the ships that can't traverse the waterways. It's also the fact that Iran is, bombing some of the energy infrastructure in some of the some of its neighbors' oil infrastructures, and that's causing a lot of pain. I mean, the bunch of Gulf states came together and they wrote a letter to Iran saying stop it. But this is Iran's only play. They have to continue to create economic pressure. That's their warfare strategy. And so far, you see, these oil prices continuing to erect off of their date, off of what they're doing. We did get the EIA oil stockpiles data yesterday, which showed inventories rise by 6.9 million barrels yesterday. That's a huge, uptick. So, but it's, not enough to cause oil prices to slide because oil prices are up, 4.5% this morning. Okay, now we're moving on over to earnings news. And, I'm going to start off with Lovesac, ticker LOVE. I mean, listen, the stock's up about 12% this morning. They beat by a penny. They did it on higher revenue. Wasn't a horrible report. I mean, it was okay. And then you have Jefferies, ticker JEF. They did beat by 13 cents. It was trading lower. It's now moved higher. The stock's up about 0.5% right now. They got a meeting going on today, a shareholders meeting. There is talk of a Mitsui buyout, but we'll have to wait and see. That meeting could hold something. But Jefferies up 0.5% this morning. Upcoming after the bell, tomorrow morning, Carnival Cruise, ticker CCL, Charlie Larry. Their EPS is 18 cents. Expected move is 8.18%. Okay, now we're taking a look at the economic activity for today at 8:30 a.m. We got jobless claims. Okay, estimates are for the figure to come in about 210K. Now, last week's, the number came in at 205, which is lower than the expected announcements, and that's what we've seen lately. So we'll have to see, but I suspect that number will come in around the 210 figure. Also at 11 a.m. we get the Kansas City Fed Manufacturing Index, but we got a lot of Fed speak, and it's all after the close. At 4 p.m. we hear from Fed Governor Lisa Cook. And then at 6:30, we hear from Fed Governor Stephen Moran. At 7 p.m., we hear from Fed Governor Philip Jefferson. And then at 7:10, we hear from Fed Governor Michael Barr. So, that could be something. And they will probably be talking about the Iran situation and its effect on the economy. In terms of FANG stocks, Meta and Google, that's really the big story. They lose that bellwether social media trial. It's causing some weakness. I mean, you haven't seen, Meta below 600 in a long time, and it's trading there now. Tesla, White House rejected Musk's offer to pay TSA workers during the partial shutdown. In terms of Dow Jones 30 news, IBM, that quantum computer news is positive. McDonald's rolling out theme-based menu based on K-pop Demon Hunters movie from Netflix. Nice. That's a good move. And Korean Air is buying 103 Boeing airplanes for $36.2 billion. But, it's between now and 2039, so it's a real long way off. So while positive, it's not indicative of a needle mover this morning. In terms of guidance news, Designer Brands, DBI, David Boy India, they see full year 2026 EPS coming in 28 cents to 38 cents. Street estimate was for a loss of 3 cents. So DBI came out with a rather positive guidance announcement, but the stock still is trading lower. Miller Knoll, MLKN, they see Q4 adjusted EPS 49 cents to 55 cents. Street estimate 61 cents. Big downtick. Okay, what else do we have? Realistically, we got to, it's kind of quiet on the news front. It's all the action is really on OPEC and the Iranian situation. So we're moving on to the pick of the day. And for today, I'm going with Pony AI, PONY. Listen, aviation firm, they do air taxis. They came out with an announcement that, they're teaming up with Uber and Vern to launch commercial robo-taxis service in Croatia. It's still positive, it's still positive. I mean, you look at yesterday's call volume, 16,000 calls versus 4,000 puts, open interest, 26K versus 12K. And then you get the major brokers, which, Citibank has a positive catalyst call watch on the stock. So listen, it's not it's not a bad, it's still a good story, and I still think that there's gains to come, but, you got to get in at a right entry price. And for me, it's $10 and, 85 cents. If I can get in between $10.85 and $10.90, I think we see, some positive flow in the stock today. But that's my pick of the day, PONY, Pony AI. Okay, now we're moving on. We're talking about the stocks hitting the tape in the last, 15 minutes or so. See if there's any action to talk about. Salesforce deployment of agentic operating system. Okay. Helping the Department of Labor modernize its NCC. AppLovin, ticker APP, getting hit this morning. Down 7% on comments about the Meta challenge. Because Meta is appealing that decision. U.S., European bond yields are rising as inflation worries resurface. It's expected. Oh, shit. Yeah. KKR, they're buying nothing but cakes from Dunkin' Donuts owner Roll Capital. It's like a $2 billion deal. EBS, Emergent Biosolutions, announced over $60 million in government contract awards. CrowdStrike and IBM expand their strategic collaboration. Here's another one, Rogue Capital, DRVN, David, Richard, Victor, Nancy. They took a 2.5% stake and they're pushing for a breakup or sale of the company. DRV10. That's all I'm seeing this morning. Okay, let's move on. Let's talk about yesterday's stock of the day, which was CMC, Commercial Metals. I mean, listen, the stock opened up at 64.57, then it ran to 65.46. There's your 1%. Then it fell with the market. I mean, it just couldn't hold on to those gains. Earnings were okay, not great. Stock's off a little bit more, but there was a 1% move yesterday higher off of the opening price. So, that's positive. It just wasn't. But yesterday was a hard pick because everything was starting to get weak after the opening. But CMC did pull out that 1% gain, which is what we were thinking it would happen. All right, traders, that concludes today's podcast. You guys know what to do. Let's go out there and let's make some green.